Today we talk about alternatives. Welcome to the YuGiOh channel where we discuss everything collecting and investing in Yu-Gi-Oh! What do I mean by alternatives? Essentially the theory is that if a card that's truly rare and truly wanted goes up and up and up, beyond what most people are able to afford, those people who still want to own that card will start looking for the next best thing. Imagine you are a big Joey Wheeler fan. You really wanted to own the first edition LOB Red Eyes Black Dragon in PSA 10. That is your favorite card. You grew up on it, you didn't like Kaiba, Kaiba's a jerk, Yugi's lame, you loved Joey because he was funny, you loved Red Eyes because of how cool he was, and so now you wanted that LOB Red Eyes. However, you figured out that this card is, what, 10,000, 12,000, maybe less, that range, let's say. A lot of thousands. You think, damn, I really wanted to own this card, but I can't. The next question, in theory, is what's the alternative? And then you look, okay, so I want an alternative. Now, unlimited is not an alternative. You can go to Walmart right now and buy the Unlim. Unless this person, just on a little nostalgia trip, wants to open some packs, own the Red Eyes, put it in his binder or in his deck, sure, that could be an alternative. But when we are talking about vintage collecting, actual old school cards, Unlim is not an alternative. So what is the next alternative? Well, probably starter deck Joey first edition Red Eyes in PSA 10. You're not gonna spend 10,000 for that card. More than likely you'll spend 2,000, maybe somewhere in that range. It's not as rare as the LOB, but it's still from around that year. I think it's 2003, so 1 year later, okay. It's still rare, it's still vintage, it's your first ed, PSA 10. Cool, that is the alternative. And so, because there are a lot of people like this person who can't afford that Red Eyes at 10,000 or whatever, they are looking towards that alternative and are gonna be bidding up the price on the alternative. Now, it is no financial advice. Don't just buy every alternative in the universe. I am no professional advisor. Go to a licensed advisor. But so yes, that is the theory. They will bid up that price because that's just the next best thing and that's all they can afford right now, which is fine. And therefore, this alternative will start going up. And so people get priced out of that. And then they consider, well, what's the alternative? Maybe it's the BPT Red Eyes. Actually, they're the same price now. Well, there we go, alternatives. Well, the thing is with BPT Red Eyes, he actually has prettier foiling. So maybe he's even better than the starter deck Joey. As people get priced out of the first best thing, they look towards the second best thing. And then the second best thing is gonna go rising because once again, they're all bidding against each other, supply versus demand basically, and those start rising. And then people start, what's the next alternative? Now, this can't go on forever. There has to be a level of demand. However, it is a pretty good rule to live by, let's say. If you get priced out of something and there is something almost as rare right under it, and that isn't as high yet, first you're gonna ask yourself why, but secondly, maybe it's a good pickup. Maybe people haven't realized yet that this is gonna be the alternative, and that may start going up in the future. That's why I said a few weeks ago, BPT tins feel undervalued. And again, this channel isn't big enough to influence price. Yet. And yeah, it has been going up. Once again, people were priced out of LOB, SDK, DDS. They look towards the next best thing. What is the next best thing? BPT. So that was the alternative if you wanted a vintage Blue Eyes. Therefore, people started bidding it up. So me saying feels undervalued wasn't just a guess. I was very aware of the fact that that had to be the next alternative. And we see this in other card games. We see this in Magic. We see this in Pokemon. If Alpha Black Lotus one day sells for 50 million, and I don't think it will, but let's say it does, 50 million Alpha Black Lotus, the betas aren't gonna keep sitting at a couple thousand. It's not gonna happen because people want the next best thing. And if the best thing is that far out, the alternatives kinda have to go up. Unless there's something that breaks that rule. This is also why I said when we saw the relinquished first edition Magic Ruler going for 1,200, maybe starter deck Pegasus will start going up. Full disclosure, I own 2 of those, one Unlim, one first edition. I thought starter deck Pegasus would go up because MRL relinquished sold that high, and the next alternative for MRL relinquished is the starter deck relinquished. It's not as good, it's not as rare, but it feels like the next alternative. So being aware of alternatives is very, very powerful because very often you can spot where demand will go before it has gone there. Now, a lot of people actually would be angry that I'm sharing this because they have been using this to make a lot of money. So that's all I had to say. We can't really add much to that. You could also say some cards don't actually have easy alternatives. For example, the SDK and DDS, if you want a Blue Eyes with that iconic art, too fucking bad, buddy. There aren't any actually vintage alternative Blue Eyes to that. So then your alternative needs to be in the lower grades. Your alternative is going to be a PSA 9 of the SDK, PSA 9 or 8 of the DDS, or maybe it's going to be Unlim of SDK. Now, Starter Decks is the one where Unlim hasn't really screwed over yet because the Starter Decks actually weren't reprinted that way. Maybe they could be, so I'm still pretty wary, but that might be the alternative. Maybe people start looking toward the EU Blue Eyes. Now on DDS that is not possible because Dark Duel stories once again never happened in EU, but maybe EU Blue Eyes are the next best thing. I don't know, I can't predict the future, but being aware of where alternatives are and aren't can be useful. That is all. Like, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.